there are really three business models that we believe are very core to this space. Can you expand upon that for our listeners?
Sure. Yeah. And we see this the same way, and have lots of examples together of organizations that find themselves in each of these different models and how they performed in it. But I think about it as, right, there's three big differentiation models that have existed forever. And two of those models struggle with the challenge of eventually that differentiation model runs out, right? The fuel that goes into that, others catch up, or you can't sustain that same level of growth. And so what those are is, right, I mean, pretty simple terms, right? There's the cost differentiation model, which is how our organization stands out because we have the best price, and our business model is centered around continuing to drive and strip costs out of our business so that we can become more efficient, so that we can continue to compete on price. That's in some ways a race to the bottom, and new competitors enter all the time, and ultimately you'll catch up, and new technologies come through that allow organizations to leapfrog and big stair-step jumps, organizations that historically dominated that differentiation model. The second one is the technological innovation model. So think organizations that have built their entire business around always being the leading edge product from a technological perspective, or just have a unique process that they continue to refine on an ongoing basis. Again, that runs into one of two challenges. Either the market catches up to you as you've owned a space for a long time, you get perhaps complacent, or perhaps you miss out on a technological wave, or you get to a spot where you out innovate the market. And even though you can continue to innovate, you no longer have a market that was the same core base that you developed all of your key customers from the beginning. And so we think the only one that is the long-term differentiation that can serve as that permanent differentiation strategy is built around what Mark talked about earlier, which is customer intimacy or problem solving, right? Understanding and truly embedding yourself in your customer's business, understanding the markets that they participate in, understanding their key challenges, and then designing your solution so that you remain a step ahead of what they even think they need. And so the only way to do that is to have that tight customer relationship. And that's where we sync up so nicely, because you help organizations organize all of that information and make sure that they are acting upon that effectively. And that's a critical component that almost every client that we step into doesn't have visibility to. So you cannot possibly be a customer intimacy or a problem-solving business if you don't have a way of thinking about and talking about your customer base.
Anthony, I see that all the time when we work with MSPs. We'll go in and ask, what information you currently have on your customers that's actionable? And we find out they have a lot of data on their customers, but it's in all these disparate systems. It's not where the sales team has access to it in a way that makes it actionable. So when it comes time to drive renewals for that recurring revenue that they've worked so hard to build, they usually have someone managing a massive Excel spreadsheet, trying to figure out, hey, how, but the sales team doesn't have access to that. They don't have any information on what equipment or software a company has that could be driving additional revenue opportunities. It's in other systems. They have it somewhere, but the sales team doesn't have access to it. So the end result is they're leaving a lot of money on the table. And they also aren't able to achieve that level of intimacy with the customer that truly is going to, drive that differentiation you're talking about.
Yeah, we see the exact same thing. And it probably manifests itself in a couple of different ways. So at its core, it's, hey, I'm on the sales team, and there are, in some cases, 5-10 different people in my organization that have some sort of relationship or knowledge about this customer, and there is no single way to bring all of that together into a cohesive strategy or plan for what I'm going to do with that account. So I might have a customer success person that has a very strong relationship with the technical users of what we're working on, and they know what that person's challenges are, their usage, They know what other technologies that they have in place. We might have a professional services team that did the implementation that uncovered a few things that maybe they're pursuing independently, or maybe we don't have a solution for today, so they never logged it anywhere and it's just living in somebody's head. And you take all of those things together, and that's great knowledge for a salesperson to have to go in there and make sure we retain that account, or make sure that we can bring other things to bear to help solve that problem. The bigger picture challenge with some of that data being in disparate spots is you have no way of aggregating key themes and trends across the business. And that's everything from very tangible, what other technologies are they using, to what are the big challenges and strategic initiatives that my executive buyers are trying to solve, even if it has nothing to do with our business today. Because if we understood those, we might understand our portfolio strategy different, and we might have a different way to offer new solutions to them in the future. But we can't see any of those trends. So it's dependent on an individual salesperson or somebody else to identify that in enough cases that they can make the case to the business to add something else to it just never works with that disparate and disaggregated information.
Yeah, and that's why they're stuck in the mud. They're spinning their wheels. They're always struggling to keep fill quota, because they're just trying to find it wherever they can find it. And there's all this money sitting out there. They just can't see it.
And it's left to the single salesperson to do that on their own, rather than it being something that's empowered by and enabled by the rest of the business.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.